in December is enormous. So what they end up doing is choosing all the big kids, the kids born in January, thinking they're the talented ones when in fact they're not talented, they're merely big. But then what do they do with those big kids? Well, they give those big kids 10 years of specialized coaching, extra practice time, and more games until by the time they are 17 and 18, the kids who were just big in the beginning actually are the best. Right? So all around the world, this is a phenomenon that was discovered by the Canadian psychologist Roger Barnsley called the relative age effect. In absolutely every system in which hockey is played, a hugely disproportionate number of hockey players are born in the first half of the year. Now, you only have to look at this chart and realize what an incredible constraint on capitalization this is, right? Logic tells us there should be as many great hockey players born in the second half of the year as born in the first half. But what we can see here is that basically there's almost no one born at the end of the year. Everyone's from the beginning. So common sense would say that if you simply started a second parallel hockey league, which had a cutoff date of June or July 1st and not January 1st, you should be able to develop twice as many elite hockey players, right? So the capitalization rate for hockey players in Canada, a country, by the way, which takes hockey more seriously than any other country on the face of the earth, the cap rate for the thing that Canadians care more deeply about than anything else is 50%. Astonishingly low, right? And the constraint in this case is not poverty. The constraint in this case is the stubborn refusal on the part of the hockey establishment to acknowledge that they are very, very poor developers of talent. So this is not a poverty constraint, this is a stupidity constraint. In other words, so this is an example of where institutions get in the way of the development of human potential. Constraint number 3 is the most important of the constraints, and this comes from James Flynn, who I mentioned at the beginning. So Flynn got really interested in why it was that Chinese American immigrants to the United States vastly outperform white Americans. Why do they do so well? They come here, they don't know the language, they don't have any money, and within one generation, their kids are achieving at an extraordinary rate. And what he discovered is in the highest occupational rung, that is professional, managerial, technical, the Chinese Americans had 55% of their population make that highest rung, and the same number for white Americans is 34%. That is a massive difference in capitalization between these two groups. So now why is that? Well, for years, sociologists struggled with trying to explain why it is Chinese Americans do so well. And there's been a very, very serious and extensive line of argument which says they're smarter. Their IQs are higher. Right? There's a British psychologist who would argue this for years, and there are many people who still believe this. But Flynn, who is the world's leading expert on IQ, very, very carefully went through the data and realized, actually, it's not true at all. So what is it? Right? Well, what he found was two things. One is that Chinese American immigrants to America with average IQs perform as well, go as far in the world as white Americans